Welcome to the Next Level Life podcast with Christine Corcoran. This podcast is made for the powerhouse businesswomen who are ready to ignite their fullest potential. This is where we will dive deep into the mindset breakthroughs and sprinkle in some kick up the butt motivation so you can scale your business with confidence and clarity. Whether you're craving more income, impact, or inspiration, this podcast will be your ultimate resource for all things next level. Listen in as we have authentic conversations with game-changing female entrepreneurs as we reveal the secrets on what it takes to rise and thrive. So go ahead, ignite your inner fire, and let's get you taking massive aligned action. Are you ready to elevate? Let's go. Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Today is all about new ways to confidently close a sale. I wanted to do an episode on this because I've been having so many conversations around it recently, and it's so interesting when we understand like what creates the confidence in order for you to feel confident in closing, and then also understanding the core things that you need to be conscious of in order for you to feel confident in your sales process in general. So I've been developing out a framework or a methodology that I use for my clients when it comes to sales. And I have been fleshing this out recently, so I thought I would share the key components of it. And then I'm going to take you through a couple of key questions that you can ask to help you confidently close a sale. I've been working on so many things behind the scenes, so excited, and I'm about to head away to LA and Hawaii, and I'm so excited because it's getting so cold in Brisbane. I'm literally wearing a jumper, and I hate the cold. I hate winter, I hate the cold, so excited that I get to go away and enjoy some sunshine. I also put out a new resource as well. If you haven't checked it out, the link is in the show notes. If you want to make the sales process easier for yourself and you sell in the DMs, or you'd like to sell more effectively in the DMs or on calls, then I've actually created some templates and some scripts for you that'll actually help you authentically sell. So if you want to check it out, the link is in the show notes. It's called Authentic Sales Scripts, how to sell out your high ticket offers in the DMs or on calls. And it's a free resource. I spent weeks putting it together and I think it's really good. So definitely go check that out. And it's complimentary. So you just have to pop your email address in and you'll get access to it straight away. And I've put it up on a Google Doc just to make it super easy for you to cut and paste copy and basically create your own version of the scripts as well. All right, so today talking a little bit more about feeling more confident when it comes to closing the sale. So my confident closing method covers 3 different core components. The main component being the first one, mindset, right? We need to have the right mindset when it comes to sales. When you're in business, you know that selling is a vital skill that you need to have. It's an essential thing that you need to be doing in order for your business to thrive. And so when you consider like the mindset piece, we need to really have an abundant mindset. So trust that people have the money to invest. Trust that people are spending money. Trust that there's plenty of clients to go around and there's clients out there that really need what you have to offer. We also need to have a really positive mindset around sales from a perspective of your ability. So your ability to sell confidently and your ability to believe in the offer and believe in the value that you have with your offer. And sometimes what can happen is we get so caught up in really thinking it's us that people are investing in. It's not you that they're investing in. They're investing in an outcome or a solution that they're looking for, or a desire that they want to experience, or a solution. So we want to recognize that it's the offer that has the value, that delivers the value, not you specifically, even though you may be doing elements of the work. So when we have this mindset, we want to adopt that positive, abundant mindset, and we're more likely to then go into the sale feeling much more confident. Now, one thing that I often share with my masterminders is a visualization that I've created that is perfect for before you jump on a sales call, to help you believe in your offer, to help you believe in the value that you deliver and how worthy you are of receiving new clients into your business. And I've found it to be quite a game changer. The women that use it, they love it. They feel like they get onto their call feeling so confident in their abilities and their skills, and they're able to then feel confident in being able to be fully present on the sales call in order for the second component or the second element of my methodology to come into play. The second element of my methodology is strategy. You need to have a strategy in place. You need to understand sales and take your clients through a process in order for you to sell authentically and confidently. Because often what happens is that we don't want to be salesy, pushy, or sleazy. And so we often go into a call or a conversation, whether that be online or whether that be on a call, we go into it thinking, oh, I don't want to be salesy, pushy, or sleazy. So what do? We avoid asking really good questions. We avoid even having a process, and we possibly even don't even accept the fact that we need to learn the process. We're just so avoidant of wanting to be salesy or pushy, we kind of just give people the information and just hope that they make the right decision for themselves. Whereas sales is a process, it's a decision-making process. And when you support your clients in that process, it can be a really enjoyable process for you and for the customer. And ideally, that's what I want people to feel, is so much more confident in the process, to understand that it's not about whether they say yes or no. It's not about being pushy, sleazy, or salesy. It's about being present in the process to support your client through the decision and let them make the decision for themselves, right? Often we get so caught up and worried about being pushy. And the reason why that happens is because you don't have a process in place, or you don't have any form of permission built into the process. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So strategy. The strategy piece is actually having a strategy in place, a sales plan in place, following a sales process, especially when it comes to closing a sale, like that actual conversation, following the process. So you're not just jumping the gun and just presenting your offer. You've got to take time to get to know the client, to find out what it is that they need first. And almost like thinking about it as if you're a doctor, and diagnose the problem and then share with them what you think the best solution will be, and then give them the opportunity to explore that solution for themselves. And I think that, and like that's like the shortest version I can give you, because I do like a whole month on sales in one of my programs, because of the fact that it is understanding each stage of the process. So then you're not rushing each stage and you're not missing any steps, because when we miss a step, that's where it becomes pushy, sleazy, or salesy. And the last little one is for you to be confidently closing consistently, is building a sales strategy for that longer term outcome, longer term plan within your business. All right, so step 3, or the third part of my methodology, is integrity and authenticity. This is, I feel, is one of the most important pieces, but it usually comes last, because we need to feel comfortable with the process. We need to feel comfortable with believing in that sales is actually, it can be a really great experience for your customer, and that it doesn't have to be salesy or sleazy or pushy. And so what we want to do is we want to build in these two things. We want to build in integrity, so which means that you lead with compassion, you be present in the process, and you don't ever get stuck in desperation. When we're stuck in desperation, we're in a scarcity mindset, and we're focused on the lack, and we're worried more about that client saying no and less about actually supporting them through the process. So we're not very present. We're too much in our heads about like, oh my God, what are they going to say? What objection are they going to throw at me? Are they going to say no? I really need this client. Like, we get so caught up in the scarcity headspace that we don't really focus on that integrity piece. And so we want to lead with compassion, be present, and be in integrity, which means we do not sell to someone who is not the right client, who is not the right fit for the offer, if the solution that you offer is actually not the right fit for them. Like, you need to be conscious of what your non-negotiables are there, and you need to know whether it feels like the wrong time to actually present. So one of the things I often share with my women that I support, whether it be one-on-one or in my programs, is that I share with them, if you get a nudge, like an internal feeling of like, they're not ready for this, it's actually not the right time. Like if the client is literally saying, I just want to find out a little bit of information, I'm not really ready to invest in this yet. Or if they're like, oh, I will probably work on this down the track. Or like if they're saying things like that, that you can tell that they're not ready for it, then don't present your offer. If you know that they are not going to be the right fit, if you know that your offer is actually not the right solution, or you're not the right person even, don't sell anything. Like, I know this is really hard sometimes when we're really stuck in scarcity and you really feel like you really need that client. But when you accept that wrong fit client, you're basically saying to the universe, okay, yeah, send me more of this. And they just keep sending you the wrong client, right? Now, I've had this so many times in the past where people come to me, they're like, oh, I had someone say like, I really want marketing support. And I'm like, I'm not a marketing coach. Like, I'll help you with sales 100%, and I will help you with your mindset, and I will get you super clear on what needs to happen in order for you to take your business to the next level and help you focus on scaling. But when it comes to marketing as a specific thing that you need help with, I'm not the right fit. Like, I'll absolutely send you to someone else. So I think it's really getting clear on who you do work with and who you don't work with, and what you do and what you don't do, and stay within those lines. Then the second piece to integrity and authenticity is one, incorporating permission-based selling. So you're involving the client in the conversation, not assuming what they are going to say yes or no to, and not just presenting without permission. Like this is actually what makes it pushy, salesy, or sleazy, is because you're not actually asking whether it's okay for you to share the information or the offers, or you're not actually asking like, would they like to know more? Like you're not getting them involved in the conversation. And there's a whole process that I take my clients through to actually speak to that, and how to build permission into your sales process so it feels, and honestly when you do, it feels so much better for you as the client actually selling, and then it also feels really good for the client buying. So you absolutely want to build permission in. And then lastly, it's selling through your authenticity. So bringing you into the process. And when you are truly you, like honestly, when you're absolutely yourself and your energy shines through and your passion shines through, people buy from that. They want to buy from that level of certainty. So this comes into a couple of different ways. Being truly authentic to who you are and what you do and who you help. show yourself online. So then you're going to attract the right clients. And that's like through your values and sharing confidently about why you love what you do and why you do what you do. So allowing yourself to like let the authenticity piece come through, because I think sometimes when people go into the sales headspace, they can be like either really rigid or they follow like a too professional process, or it just feels icky. And so you want to go, what feels good for you? So you want to build your process out that is authentically you. So that's my confident closing method. And so when it comes to building this into your business, it's about building that consistency in your business as well. So when we have that strategy in place and you follow that 3-step component, it actually helps you feel so much more confident in your ability to close. And then that brings me to the main core component for the podcast, is obviously speaking to how to confidently close. So having these key pieces in place is the big foundation of really confident closing when it comes to sales. But if you want to know how to actually ask for the sale, because it's a lot of the time people don't do, they get so fearful of the rejection that they actually don't ask for it. So we leave so much money on the table because we're so fearful of the rejection or the objections that we run from it and we leave money on the table. I was helping a client through this last week where she was in a conversation with a client and she'd had an objection come up and she was like, I'm so scared, what do I say? And she's like, normally what I would say is like, yep, okay, no worries, reach out if anything changes, and then just leave it at that. And I was like, no, this is good. Like, you want objections. Objections mean people are interested and they want to know more information. They're basically trying to figure out whether, is this the right fit for me? And so you do want those questions. It's honestly the best thing that can happen. If people are staying invested in the conversation, they are wanting to know more information to see if it's the right fit. And so we want to explore this to determine whether it is or not. And so we want to make sure that we're asking for permission. And so one of the biggest things I teach in my sales program is slowing the process down, because we get so caught up in either the scarcity, or we get caught up in the hesitation or the rejection, or like, oh my God, not knowing what the actual process is that we go too quick to give the answer. And so when people are like, oh, I really would love to know your pricing, or I'd love to know, like, I'm worried about this, or what about the cost of that, or, I'm not really sure if it's going to work here. Like, we're so quick to just answer the question and overcome the objection head on, we forget to get to, again, involve the person in the process. So I always suggest slow it down, gain clarity, because if you are not really sure what the true objection is, then you can't overcome it. And so sometimes I will say, rather than answer it, ask another question to gain further clarity, or ask a question to help overcome the objection. And so this comes down to really asking, like, before you even talk about price, share the inclusions, or share what it is that you do that makes you different, and share what it would look like. So you might suggest something like, this is how I would suggest that we work together. Or you might say something like, okay, so based on the things that you've shared with me, I think that this package of what I offer would be a really good fit for you. The reason why I share this with you is because of this, and this. So you give them reasons why you're suggesting that based on what they've shared with you. And then you ask them, before you even talk about price, you ask them, how does that sound? Is it something that you feel that would work for you? Get permission first before you start talking about money. You want to make sure that it's the right fit of offer first, not just price. We don't want people basing their opinion on price, the decision on price. Like, it needs to be based on value and inclusions and what they're going to get out of it and the results that they want from it, rather than price. So you want to ask them, how does that sound? Do you feel like this is everything that you need? Do you feel like this will actually support you in your next steps? And you want to share why you think these key things are going to support them based on what they've said. And then before you even talk about price again, you might ask, is there anything else that you'd like to be included that we haven't even talked about yet, or that we haven't touched on yet? And sometimes then at that point, people then will bring up an objection, or they'll bring up something else that might be really worthwhile including. And so I want you to start being okay with asking more questions to determine right fit first, before determining price or communicating price. So that's actually how you stay confident within the process, because if you're willing to sit in that uncomfortable, awkward conversation sometimes where you're actually exploring what's happening for them in the decision before you start talking about price, it makes it much easier to then ask for the sale. So for instance, if you know that an objection has come up, like maybe a client has mentioned that it's not the right time, or I'm already really busy, I'm not really sure how I'm going to fit this in, or I've been investing in a bunch of other things at the moment, so I'm not really sure, I just want to find out some information. Like, they're kind of just fishing for information. You want to really dive into what they really need first, right? Explore what they really need first before you start talking about pricing or options. Slow the process down. And then you want to address any objection. So you want to gain clarity about that objection. Don't just take it for face value. You want to explore it one step further. So you might say, okay, so if I was to solve this problem in this way for you, what impact would that have for you in your business if you work with business owners? And majority of people will actually then start to flip the way that they think about their investment, because they will be like, oh, well, it'll give me this outcome and this outcome and this outcome. And so by asking the question, you're not telling them, because when you tell them, people often switch off. People don't want to be told. But if they self-diagnose or they self-realize that, oh, this actually could be really beneficial for my business. So for instance, like if, let's say you're a copywriter and you actually share, like you do copy for websites or you do copy for sales pages and things like that, I would ask like, okay, so if we were able to really nail your ideal client and be able to really speak to the objections your clients are having when it comes to purchasing this program, what impact do you think this will have for your business? And then let them say, oh, like, I feel like that will just actually turn things around and I'll be able to really convert the high numbers that I'm really wanting to convert. And I also want to be able to communicate my message in such a really positive, clear way that I feel like that will make me feel so much more confident in my ability to sell it. Right? You want to have people self-realize the impact that your work is going to have for them. And then you want to tie it into the 3 core universal pieces of value. So you want to address, and this is the same thing with objections. Everyone also always has either these main 3 objections: time, money, and ability. Or another way to put that would be effort, right? So if we start to address those, so if you can get a feel for the client talking about how they don't have enough time, then I'd be asking questions around that before you even talk about price. So I'd be saying things like, so you mentioned before that you're super busy at the moment. So if working with a coach was something that you are keen to do, you know, we would normally meet like once a week for a good hour and a half. Like, do you feel like you've got the space to actually fit that in at the moment? Or how would you see yourself fitting that in? And then they would then go, oh, I'd make this a priority because it's really something that I need. So they're more likely to then self-realize that they're like, oh, I'm going to have to prioritize time here. So then down the track, it doesn't become an objection. Same thing with ability. So you might go, you know, previously you found this really difficult to do for yourself. If I gave you a step-by-step process to follow, how do you feel that would make you feel? And also how well would you feel like you'd be able to execute on that action with those step-by-step process? So then people can be like, oh, well, if she's going to give me the step-by-step, I'm totally going to take the action. So it helps them actually overcome their own objections. Now they're like super simple kind of like objections, but you're going to have really unique ones to your offerings as well. And so the more that you can become aware of them, this is why I'm always like, embrace those objections. You want to hear what they are, because if people are brave enough to share with you their objection, other people are going to have those objections. And so you need to know that information in order for you to overcome it down the track. So don't run away from them. Be curious, stay open and compassionate, and know that this is not about them saying no to you. This is not about rejection. This is about finding out more information. So stay invested in the process, slow it down, and ask more questions, right? Ask more questions. And so when it comes to confidently closing, when we're able to stay present in that moment and really support them in the decision, because at the end of the day, what often runs through my mind when I'm having a conversation with a potential client is I want to support them in making the right decision for them, right? Like I know, like I have a belief in my ability as a coach, in my ability to the results that I've achieved for past clients. I know the value of the work that I do, right? I know that. I've got all the testimonials. I've got all the feedback. I see the results, right? I know that what I do is really valuable. So when I'm sitting with a client, it's less about whether they say yes or no, because that's not going to change my life, right? At the end of the day, if they say yes or no, like that's not going to change my life, but it is going to change their life. And so I want to actually allow them to make that decision because I want them to be empowered in their decision. I want them to be all in on that decision and for it to feel good for them. So I'm never, ever pressuring them to buy. I'm never, ever sitting in that scarcity energy of like, oh my God, what if they say no? Because when you're in that energy, you're too much in your head. You're too much in your head and you need to get out of your head and sit with them in their decision to support them. Because when you're in that energy, I can be fully present with them and be like, cool, so let's explore this. So if I ever have a client that actually says to me like, oh, I've got to talk to my husband, I'm like, great, awesome, talk to your husband and explore, you know, obviously this you feel like this is the right fit for you. What do you think your husband might say? What do you think he's going to be worried about? So I'm actually supporting them in the decision or in the conversation they're going to have with their husband, because if she wants it, if she really wants to do this work and she obviously has to have that conversation to justify that spend with her husband, then I want to talk to her about that to support her in that decision, because she's not going to have me on the call or in the room with her to be able to communicate everything that we've talked about. So I want to then help her with like how she would then communicate that to her husband. Now, for some people, I mean, that's an advanced technique. I just want to highlight that. That's an advanced technique. So that might feel really uncomfortable for people who are listening to this going, oh my God, I would never ask that. But the thing is, once you have your confidence in your belief in your abilities, you know you are great at what you do, then you have the process to follow and you're staying in full integrity. You're not stuck in that worrying about offending someone or worrying about like, oh my God, I'm being pushy. I'm never pushing the boundaries there, right? I'm never going like, okay, but when is the right time? Like I'm never asking offensive questions. I'm supporting them with a kind tone of voice. I'm sitting with them. I'm being curious. I'm being aware and being conscious of, okay, what's the best thing for this person right now? Because at the end of the day, I don't ever want a client to invest and it feel like it was the worst decision. I don't want them to feel like they've invested because they've been pressured and then they actually have regret or remorse afterwards. Like that's the last way that I want to work with someone, because I don't want them to come into that coaching container feeling like, oh, I didn't want to make this investment. Like that's not a good energy to start a coaching relationship at all. And I believe that's the same thing for every type of business, right? You want a client to be like excited, ready to do the work, ready to dive in, like so pumped. So I want you to think about that, like if it's the right decision for them, and you'll have an intuition nudge that's like, hey, this is not the right fit for them, don't offer it. Or your nudge will be like, okay, let them have time. So there's sometimes with a client where I'll ask those types of questions, and other times where I'll be like, and they'll say like, I need to just sit with it and to see whether it feels right for me. Or I just need to take a bit of time just to think about it. I'm like, of course, absolutely. And then I might ask like, is there any other questions that you have? Is there any other further clarity that I can give you? Or is there anything we haven't touched on just yet that you're hesitating on that maybe we need to explore? Because I want you to have all the information that you need in order to make the right decision for you. Whether that is deciding to work with me today or whether it's deciding to work with me in 6 months, in 12 months, I want you to walk away from the experience that you've had with me feeling good, not ever feeling pushed or salesy or sleazy, right? Ever. So I want you to think about that, because if you're ever diving into tactics that feel icky, then that's what you're going to leave them feeling like. You want to leave them feeling like she knew her shit. She sounds like an amazing person to work with. I really want to work with them. Even if I don't have the money right now, I'm going to work towards working with them at some point, right? You want to leave them feeling good about it. So that's where I always bring in the authenticity piece, because you've got to trust that and trusting your intuition with your integrity as well. So I hope this has helped you. I know like sales is a massive conversation, and I want to share with you that's my my confident closing method. And that's what I teach in my programs. And it's something that I'm developing even further. And I'm so excited to bring some new things out for you soon. And one of those is actually a new masterclass that I'm developing at the moment, which will go through this a little bit more in depth. So keep an eye out for that. It comes out next week, and then I'm doing it second week of June. So I haven't got the exact date and time locked in just yet, but I just want to let you know that's coming. So keep an eye out for it. Otherwise, have an incredible rest of your week, and keep an eye on my stories, because I'm heading to Hawaii in LA and I hope to bring you along. All right, have an amazing week. Thank you for listening, and if you've found any value out of this episode, make sure you hit the follow button so you get access to the episodes as soon as they are live, and make sure you come hang out with me on Instagram. You can find me at ChristineCorcoran_coach. Have an incredible week.